started, I want to first start off by saying Happy New Year to everyone and good morning. The Special Education Services Technical Assistance Team would like to welcome you to, again, Networking with Novice. This is our fourth installment of monthly meetings on topics being discussed that might interest you as a novice coordinator. Today, we're going to have our topics focus on gifted education. Our speakers today are Ms. Emily Hurst, Ms. Ashley Strickland. Before I get started, I wanted to review a few little housekeeping reminders. First, remember, if you are on the phone, we need you to at least email us back and let us know that you are participating, because sometimes it doesn't show your name. And also, we have the agenda in the chat box. And if you have any questions or anything else, or the PowerPoint, I think it will be available. I think Emily will address that. So I do at the end of the session, when when the team finishes, we would like for you to ask questions. So if you have any questions or concerns, please put them in the chat box. Now we will begin. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can everyone see the slide presentation? Okay. So I'm going to do a disclaimer before we start. If you hear some rattling in the background, my puppy is not wanting to nap today because it's raining outside and she can't go out. So I apologize if you hear some banging in the background. So today I'm going to present on some reports that are coming up and then some updates. And then Ashley Strickland is also here with us, and she's going to go over some resources and things that we feel are pertinent to things that are going on in gifted ed. So I know that many of you are brand new. So we want to go over kind of in depth today the LEA Gifted Profile Needs Assessment. And so I don't know if many of you have met me in person. I know I met many of you at the regional trainings in 2019, and we were excited about that, getting those back up and running, and then COVID hit. So we're looking forward to at some point getting back in person and being able to talk face to face and not through chat and email. But Ashley, did you want to just do a quick introduction?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see all the names, and I'm excited to be with Emily. And she's been a godsend with me. She's taught me so much over the last couple of months, and I'm like Emily. I'm excited to hopefully one day get to be out with you guys again and get to come and see all the wonderful things that are going on in Gifted. And we are thankful for all of you coordinators for everything that you do to help Gifted programs run smoothly. And I look forward to getting to know y'all better.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into the presentation. At the end of the presentation, there will be a link and a QR code so that you'll be able to access this presentation after the fact. It will force you to make a copy of it, so don't panic when you go to it and it says make a copy. It's just so that the master doesn't get edited. But so you will have that at the end. So again, our goals for today are to review reporting dates and documents that need to be submitted, discuss some of the updates in Gifted, and then just share some of the resources with you guys. So some of the upcoming reports, and you should have received the FOG newsletter yesterday, which highlighted what are coming up. But the LEA Gifted Profile Needs Assessment will be the first report that's coming up this year due, and that's due March 26th of 2021. And you can go ahead and start submitting that. You do not have to wait until March. So if you get that completed and want to go ahead and send that in, feel free to do that. There's a link to the document here. It can be found on the State Department website under the gifted section, and then it's under coordinator resources. And so I have it circled here on the screen where you can see it's about the fourth document in that on that page. So this document is your self-assessment of your program and your LEA. The report includes of your strengths and weaknesses of the program. And that's really important, especially in this time when we can't come out and see face to face. It's really important that that narrative is in that report. A lot of people fill out the report and I think they're just thankful to have gotten through the report and filling it out, and they kind of forget to do the narrative of the strengths and weaknesses. That narrative should also include your action steps for improvement based on your most current monitoring cycle. So you may have been monitored 4 years ago or last year or being monitored this year, but it would be based on the findings from the most current monitoring. And then you can also request technical assistance through this document. When you fill out the gifted service indicators, there's a place to mark if you need technical assistance in specific areas. So feel free to do that. And we're working on getting a new technical assistance form up so that you can submit just like you do for special education as well. So this is what the report looks like. If you've never seen it before, this is just the first page. There are 6 sections on this report, and I'm going to just go through those. I know we don't have a lot of time today, but I'm just going to go through each section really quick. If you have questions, you can pop them into the chat, and I'll answer those when we get through. We'll have about 10 minutes for questions at the end. But the first section is all about your second grade child find and your standard referrals. So always include comments if you need to clarify anything that's gone on. For instance, we gave everyone the option of how you wanted to complete your second grade child find for this current school year. And so you may have some comments that you need to put in related to that. If your school had to, go to virtual and that's not what you had planned to do, there was a little, leeway for your second grade child find this time. And
I thought of it. I'm very
if
sorry.
you,
I've literally asked her to add me to this list about 8 times.
uh-oh, someone's not muted, so just, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear your conversation.
So basically you're just checking yes or no about whether the gifted specialist taught the 6 lessons in the classroom, if the gifted specialist met with teachers to review the characteristics at the beginning of the school year, and then if they completed the tabs or Renzulli, whatever scale you're using. Most use the tabs, but that should be completed using the bell curve. And we ask you in the comments there to specify which rating scale that your LEA uses. And then the third part of that is that all students that ended up in the top 2 quadrants were referred and processed through those timeline requirements. And remember, for the second grade child find, those are not 90-day timeline. Only standard referral is your 90-day timeline. You have until the beginning of 3rd grade for those second grade child find referrals to be completed. So so when we look at your tracking log and we see 100 plus days on those that have a referral source of 1, which means second grade child find, then we know that that's okay because they are part of second grade child find. Section 2 is all about your standard referrals. So it talks about scores from all group assessments are reviewed by the gifted specialist. I know that we didn't have end of grade tests last year. So if your school does math or Scantron or any of those, every quarter type assessments, then you could use those to scan and look for students that might have been missed. So if they're scoring really high, but they were never referred, then that could be cause for a referral. And so we want you, to look for those because a student can be referred at any time. All right. And then, of course, the standard referrals, their timeline is 90 days. So if a student does go over the 90-day timeline, we just ask that on the gifted referral tracking log, you put in a timeline delay. So if it was COVID, put COVID. If it was evaluator was unavailable, for instance, if you contract with psychometrists and they just weren't available to test, then you can put EU for evaluator unavailable, just so we'll know why that went over the 90-day timeline. For section 3, this is about your annual staff training and just answering questions. Oops, sorry, I skipped a section. Section 2 is all stakeholders are informed. So this is your notice in your handbook. Some people put the notice on a website or in the code of conduct. Some people post it in the newspaper to get the word out. So however you share it, it should at least be shared in the student handbook where all parents see that notice and are aware of the process for referring a child. And so that notice should include your gifted definition, our state gifted definition, who can refer a child, how a student is eligible, and then who to contact for making a referral. So it's in your LEA plan for gifted. So just making sure that you are sending notice yearly. All right, so section 3, we tried to jump ahead. Annual staff training. This just tells that you are training teachers and staff at each site on the gifted referral process and how to identify. And so you can check whether you're doing that at elementary, middle, and high school. And you can describe how that training is delivered, because I know some people do it at the beginning of the school year face-to-face. Some have sent it out through Schoology this year. Now they have Schoology. So lots of options for that, or you may just do a webinar. So you can just indicate. The comments are there for you to clarify anything that you think is unique to your situation and it might be helpful for us in understanding how your LEA handles something. So section 4 is about your personnel certification, and each teacher unit should only be represented one time here. So if you have a teacher who is working certification, but they're not certified currently, don't put them in both. Just say they're one of the ones working towards certification. And so you're telling who's not certified. And so that would be not certified and not working on it. Then there's are certified and then are working on certification. And just realize that if you have someone who's not certified, then that really does make services not comparable in your system. If they're working towards it, we don't really count that against you because they're working towards it, but they have the 3 years. So someone can be hired for the position on a interim educator certificate, and they have 3 years to obtain that certification. For section 5, this is all about your placement and service delivery. And so you have sections for K2, 3, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 12. And so you're just going to check yes, that you have those services for those grade levels. And then in the comments, you can put how many hours. So it should be between 3 and 5 hours for 3 to 5. 6, it depends on how your school's broken up and how you do pull out and advanced courses. So some middle schools provide advanced courses, but then they also do a 1-hour pull out for their gifted students. So it just depends from site to site. So that's where you can specify that in the comments and your numbers. And then it goes into how many advanced courses are offered at your middle and high school, and then teachers that are teaching those advanced courses understand the nature and needs of gifted students and are willing to differentiate for those students. So in the comments there, you could tell, if you provide training specifically to those teachers that are working in those advanced courses, if they've done, used to, we had the Moodle, but it got shut down in September. So in the newsletter, we said we're updating some of those modules, so you could direct those teachers to those modules to watch and get strategies that they can use. So you might put there that, that was a requirement that you had teachers watch those modules. So the last section is really the section that a lot of people get hung up on for disproportionality, just because it has a lot of data that you're entering. So this is what that whole section looks like. The first section of that is all about your second grade child find referrals. So you're going to use your LEA summary report for that part. And remember, you're filling this out for the current school year, but this data section is for the previous school year, because you're not finished gathering that data for this school year. So for instance, if you're filling this out this year, you're filling it out for the 2020-21 school year, but the data that you're putting in this section is from the 19-20 school year. So you'll look back at the summary report that you sent. Remember, that was extended, so anytime between April and September, you may have submitted that report. You're going to look at that to enter your percentage for each race and ethnicity. Standard referrals, that information is going to come off of your gifted referral tracking log. So any student that has a referral source code other than 1 would be a standard referral. And be careful on that, because you may have had a second or third grader referred by a parent, teacher, or other, and it wasn't a second grade child find referral, because second graders can be referred at any time. So they may be in the second grade child find process, but if a parent says, I want my child, referred for gifted, then you have to start a regular referral for that. And that would be a 90-day referral, because if a parent, if it's other than second grade child find, it's considered a standard referral. So the standard referral information would come from the gifted referral tracking log. So you're just putting the percentage of students from each race, ethnicity that were referred as a standard referral. Then part C for child count, that information is going to come from the 6-year racial representation report that we email to you each year. So this year I emailed all of my regions theirs, and Ashley emailed all of her regions theirs. If you can't find it, just email us. We can send it to you again. It's not a big deal. But that's where you'll take that information and record it in section C. I put in directions on how to calculate it, but on that report, we had the data team add, or IT, add a line that gives you that percentage. So you don't have to figure it. If you do figure it, it is going to be slightly different, because I had this question from another LEA, and you have to go all the way back to using, you can't just divide it. This is going to get a little confusing, probably the way I say it, but you have to go all the way back and figure it all the way from your total of that race and then your gifted. And it would, because it would look a little bit different if you didn't figure it that way. But anyway, all you have to do is take that and plug it in because it's already figured for you. And then the last part of this is the number of students by race and ethnicity who had one of the following ranges of scores, but was not eligible for gifted. And so you would just need to go and look at your tracking log and look at each race and ethnicity of plug in how many of each scored in the range of scores there. So once you get through with that, then you'll have your gifted service indicator form, your gifted assurance statement page, and then your gifted specialist caseload and class size page. So your gifted service indicators, you're just really going to check yes or no if it's offered, or you practice that in your LEA. You can add comments into each section if you want to clarify and explain something. And then you can also request technical assistance there. So you can indicate whether you need technical assistance or not. For the assurance statements, you can fill this out a couple of different ways. Some systems can get all their schools on one page and signatures. If you're a large district, that probably just won't work for you. So you could have one page per school. So that's really up to you how you want to complete that. Just make sure, if you're having all schools sign on the same page, that they understand when it's checked yes for the second grade child find. That doesn't apply to high school and middle school, obviously. So you could just put a comment, only in the elementary schools or something like that. For the gifted specialist caseload and class size, this is an embedded Excel form. So if you double click on it, you can enter your data without having to handwrite it. But you're going to list each teacher, each specialist is going to list the grades that they serve, the hours service time, and then how many of each race, ethnicity. And then they're going to attach their schedule that shows a breakdown for each one of their pull-out classes and how many students they serve in those pull-out classes. And then after you've gotten all of that filled out, then that's when you'll do your narrative of your strengths and weaknesses, and you can just type that in on the document. And again, that includes your progress toward corrective action from your monitoring. And then it asks you if you did an annual review of your LEA plan for gifted. You do not have to submit a new LEA plan for gifted every year. We just ask that you update it at least every 5 years or when new leadership comes on board. So if you have a new superintendent or a new coordinator, then that's when you would really need to get at least new signatures. If you're not changing anything in the plan, at least get new signatures. You still have to send the whole plan in, but just make sure the signature page has been updated. If you do make any changes, make sure you're doing it on the latest template that's on the LSD website under Gifted Coordinator Resources. All right, so I'm going to have to kind of go through because I know we're running out of time. The second grade Child Find Summary Report will be the next thing that's due. That's due April the 16th. Remember that for this report, students do not have to be finished in the process. You just put the students that were referred. So any students that fell in the top 2 quadrants, that's who you're putting on this report. Each school will send you theirs, and then you compile it all into the LEA report. But the process does not have to be finished for you to submit this report. And again, that one is also on the website. You can see where I've circled it there. The form looks like you'll put your LEA name here, and then you can double click. This is an embedded Excel sheet. If you double click, you can enter and it will calculate for you. All right, so gifted updates, Power School special programs will be coming on board June, July. We'll have that migration happen from SETS to Power School. We currently have 5 systems that are piloting, and I'm in work sessions with them every week to make sure that our forms are working correctly and that our reports are working. And so we will do some trainings on that, and there'll be trainings for each district coming out soon for all of that. Gifted compliance monitoring will be back in Cognia for the 21-22 school year. We will have a diagnostic in Cognia. So we'll do some trainings on that once that is out of production. We're still in the production phase of that. So I'll turn it over to Ashley just to do some quick introduction of some resources.
As Emily said earlier, we have been taking some of the old Moodle things that were gifted and updating them, giving them a facelift for this year. And these are especially good if you have new gifted specialists in your LEAs that need some strategies. Emily's done both of these, the Differentiation 101 and the Depth and Complexity. And you can access those on the YouTube channel. Emily, you want to flip me to the next one? And the next book for you gifted coordinators out there is the Gifted Program Evaluation. And it is pretty amazing. Emily and I both really like this, and it would be a great way to evaluate your gifted program to see if you're reaching and meeting those needs of those gifted learners. It has surveys for stakeholders, for students in the community, and of course, anyone that's working with your gifted kids to help you, figure out, is your program effective? Are you getting students who are from different backgrounds? And so it's just something that I would recommend to use if you would like to evaluate your program. Finally, on that slide, the Gifted Discover website has some great resources as well. And I think my last slide is about gifted education. Oh, sorry, one more. Emily's been working with this book, and I've read through it. I know a lot of LEAs struggle with disproportionality, especially among students from low socioeconomic backgrounds or who are diverse. And so if you're looking for ways to help with those numbers or to best try to get those numbers improved, this is a great resource. Move to the next one, Emily. Okay, and finally, January is Gifted Education Month, and we're very excited about that. And AAGC has a document on their website, the Alabama Association for Gifted, that kind of helps guide gifted specialists or gifted coordinators in some activities that you could do. Some ideas are write a letter or send an email, draw a picture to your legislatures and let them know how thankful you are to have those gifted programs. You could do some social media posts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, tag those legislatures to let them know the importance of gifted ed. Invite gifted officials such as legislatures and school board members to your classroom. Express gratitude for gifted support. Visit Montgomery. I know when I was still a gifted specialist 2 years ago, my co-gifted specialist and I actually drove over from Selma to Montgomery to watch Shirley and one of the other people that were on the board for AAGC, talk about gifted funding. And they actually, some of those students from like Birmingham City, they were able to come and talk about how they were better students because of their participation in the gifted program. And it was really nice for those representatives and people in Montgomery to get to see those students. And of course, just advocate for AAGC and for your gifted programs. That's, that your voice needs to be heard. Our students' voices need to be heard. And one other thing that that's on the AAGC website right now, if you guys are following that, there's going to be a parent webinar by Brian Housen, and there's going to be another PD webinar by Abby Watkins, and those are both up for January. So if your gifted specialists aren't signing up for those things, they're usually on Tuesday nights or Tuesday afternoons. And the great thing about those is once they're there, if your gifted specialists can't get to those, they're recorded and you can go back in if you're a member of AAGC to get those great strategies and things that would help them in their gifted classes. I tried to be quick.
And you guys can access the presentation here. You can scan the QR code or just grab that link. And again, it will force you to make a copy of the presentation. And I can't see the chat, so I don't know if there were any questions or if I'll need to answer those separate.
I do have a couple of questions that were emailed to me. I didn't see anything in the chat yet. Question number one, will coordinators/gifted specialists receive training on Power School special programs?
Yes. We are planning to do training. We will have we hope that Mega will happen either face-to-face or virtually, and we'll provide some training through that. And then we will do other trainings, probably try and do some regional webinars to do training. And then we may even do another recorded one that will just be on demand as well. But yes, definitely they will get training.
Okay. And the second question, will there be a training on gifted compliance monitoring in Cognia?
Yes, we will also provide that at Mega, depending on how that's held, and regionals.
Well, great. I want to remind everyone, you have links to the handouts, the PowerPoint, everything, and also you can contact Emily and Ashley. You have a slide that was already input with your information.
Yes, let me
If
see
not,
if
they
I
can they can contact me. But we want to thank you guys because actually we need another 30 or 40 minutes. You guys had a great presentation and I am so interested in those resources that you have. And I know everyone else is. I also
And
want to
go
thank
ahead.
you. Go ahead, Emily.
Just going to say if there's specific topics that you guys would like to, have us cover in the future, just please, let Gwen know and we'll be happy to do another meeting, on this networking with Novice.
And everyone, this is just to see what we can do and increase. Maybe next time we can start doing stuff twice a month because I really felt like this was important. But I want to thank my team, my sister Elizabeth Green. She's so helpful, so great, and very patient with me and everyone else. And I don't know if you've ever seen Elizabeth, but she's actually a year old now. And I just want to let you know, Elizabeth, we love and appreciate you. And thank you, Ashley and Emily and everyone. You guys are going to show your face so we can take a picture? It's a new year. Elizabeth, take a picture. We're going to tweet out.